They are from the French platform Mouvement Français pour la vie de base. They will have a presentation considering basic income through the lens of agriculture. And I think it's Elena Enbulle is doing the presentation. Elena is a geographer and she's currently studying public policies and management of agricultural development. Her researches have been focused on alternative food networks and the involvement of civil society movements around the food issue. She has been involved in the French movement for basic income as well as the UB movement. You may go ahead.
Hello everybody, and thank you for attending this session about degrowth and sustainable and fair food networks. So yeah, I'm happy to present you a project that we've been running with the French movement for basic income. And mainly we are thinking of a starter project that would be of implementation of basic income that would be applied on the agrarian sector. So yeah, we will see actually how the basic income could be a possible solution in order to trigger a shift toward fair and sustainable food system. So yeah, food is actually one of our basic needs. We need that 3 times a day, and yeah, as basic income advocates, we think a lot or we consider money as the basic need that can give us all, then all the basic needs that we need for life. But actually, we can also start from the food issue, which is actually like a cornerstone for our society. So you might have already seen that phrase in Sesión also. So yeah, I will be presenting you the reflection that we've been having in the French movement and in the European network for basic income. So yeah, as I said it's like a starter model and the first step of implementation for a universal and long-term implementation of basic income. So firstly, I will present you what are the problems that we are facing nowadays with our current industrialized food system. And secondly, I'm sorry, it's cut actually, but I will be presenting how a basic income can be one of the solutions in order to trigger the transition toward more sustainability and more social fairness in the food sectors. And one thing that I have to mention, we've been focusing our reflection on the European level, but actually, yeah, it tends to be thought as well on the global level, because food issues cannot be solved only on a special territory. We have to think them globally. So this will be the next step of reflection and investigation. So first, what are the major threats that we are facing nowadays? Our global food, the major threats to global food security nowadays. So actually, with our industrialized agri-food system, we have a big issue with energy. Actually, we are highly dependent on fossil fuels because of the inputs of fertilizer or the use of high mechanization. And this is an energy source that we will be probably not supposed to use with the regard of what Michael was talking about, climate change. We also have major threats on the issue of ecology. So the industrialized agri-food system are degrading the land resources, the water and groundwater resources, and is also threatening the ecosystem and the biodiversity, which are actually the basis of food production. So we are in a big problem. There are also high greenhouse gas emissions. So actually the food sector is responsible for 30% of the global greenhouse emission. So this is a major source. And so yeah, the food sector is actually a major source and also the first victim of what is engineering. And yeah, as I said, a high biodiversity loss. So actually in 100 years, in the last century, we've been losing 75% of the cultivated biodiversity. So this is like a huge problem that we will have to face urgently. There are also high social impacts. The livelihood stress for farmers around the world. This is actually the population that is most, paradoxically, the farmers or the people who live in rural areas, the smallholders, are the ones who are mostly suffering from hunger and undernutrition. And poverty is mainly rural phenomenon. So we have, like, these three issues are huge problems that we will have to address really quickly. So as a sum up, this citation sums pretty well up how actually the industrial food system is not an option for the future. So the industrial food system undermines the ecosystem and cultural diversity. It lacks resilience in the face of emerging climate change. It wastes food and natural resources, creates pollution, fosters myriad social injustice, including exploitation of agri-food workers, and leaves millions of people hungry while others suffer from obesity. So it's like, okay, it's clear that it's not an option for the future. Now I will present some special cases on the farmers' population and why actually it's interesting for the basic income movement to focus on the problematic of this population. So firstly, they are actually having hard-working conditions. The hourly income of farm workers is between 50 and 60% of the average hourly income in the EU. And they have long working hours and limited opportunity for vacation. They are also subject to a lot of instability and insecurity for their income, because actually their income is strongly depending on external factors like the climate condition or the variability of the volatility of prices, and they have weak bargaining power with retailers who buy their production. There are also a social group that is highly suffering from precarity. For example, in France, there is 1/3 of French farmers who earns less than 350 euros per month. And actually 1/4 of the French farmers live below the poverty line, which is 1,000 euros. So this is actually the social professional category that is suffering more precarity. There are also social exclusion issues. The agricultural sector has been is the one where there are the highest suicide rates. And in France, for example, in 2016, every 2 days a farmer is committing suicide. So this is a really preoccupying issue. And there is also an issue of aging. So this is an aging population. For example, in the European Union, there is more than 50% of farmers who are older than 55, and within 10 years they will retire. And meanwhile, there is only 7.5% of farmers in Europe who are under 35 years old. So we have a big issue with who is going to farm tomorrow and how are we going to feed ourselves. So now maybe a short review of which policy have been actually pushing for this industrial food system. So for the case of Europe, it has been the Common Agricultural Policy, who have been created in the 1960s. So it represents one of the largest expenditure for the EU. It amounts to approximately 40% of the total EU budget, so it's like 58 billion euros per year for the whole EU. And it was initially created in order to raise the productivity, to guarantee food security within Europe, and to create a transfer of labor force toward industry and service sector. This was also a period of urbanization, so we needed the people not to work on agriculture anymore. Actually, yeah, this food policy that has been running since the 1960s, it has been fostering actually the high concentration of land ownership and the industrialization and expansion of farms. And here are some data that are pretty preoccupying in regard of the concentration. So it has been, last year there was a report from a Spanish organization called Mundubat, and they said that in 2018, 1.5% of the European farm were receiving 75% of the total CAP subsidies, and they control 20% of the cultivated lands. And meanwhile, between 2003 and 2013, 1 in 4 smallholder farms disappeared in Europe. So it shows clearly that the common agricultural policy have been actually supporting an industrial model and have been undermining the smallholder farming systems. And now, actually, it's a pretty bad idea because, for example, the United Nations Special Rapporteur on the Right to Food from 2008 to 2014, maybe some of you might know him, is Olivier de Schutter, and he's been focusing on the right to food, and he argues that the industrial agri-food paradigm must be consigned to the past. And actually, nowadays we need to massively invest on smallholder farming and diversified production models who are more sustainable, more resilient, and who are having positive side effects on social and environmental and territorial issues. And this model based on diversified farming system and which is made by smallholders. This is actually the most promising model in order to address the biggest challenges that I've been presenting in the beginning. So actually, the fact is that there is a growing political consensus on the fact that we should massively invest on smallholder farming in order to create a shift towards a sustainable and fair food system. But the question is, how are we going to do it actually? Because the states or the public sector might not have enough money to invest on this, and the private sector, it doesn't really have the interest to change the way or to invest money on them, because for the economy of scale, it's complicated to link maybe the small farmers with big retailers and so. So there is a big issue on how are we going to create that shift towards a better support to smallholder farmers. And actually the proposal here is to say the basic income could be actually the tool that supports the smallholder farming. So we talk about an agrarian basic income. So what is it? It would be a right attached to every producer in order to live sustainably. So that would be a right allocated to every food producer, so on an individual basis. It would be unconditional, so no matter the size of the farm or what is being produced. It would be an automatic cash payment delivered every month to the beneficiaries, so there is no delay, which is the case today. And it would be cumulable, so other sources of income can be added to it. For example, other social benefits or the gains of production. And it is inalienable, so it cannot be taken from if the farm is getting too much into debt. This will ensure continuity in the farming activity. So what would be actually the effect of such a system to farmers? Oh, it has been shifted, sorry. So the first one, it would provide them security, regardless of the production or the level of income, and it would decelerate the high disappearance of smallholder farming. The second one, it would provide them resilience. So actually, it might increase the bargaining power of farmers who wouldn't have to accept low sale prices of their products or unsafe working conditions. That would be better for them to ensure their basic rights and to claim for other recommendations. And third one, it would be a tool for transition, as I said. So it would, the fact that it ensures continuity of the farming activity, it can help the farmers to go toward to transition toward fair production system. But during the transition period, the yields might decrease, the income might decrease. So the fact of ensuring them an income that would actually be an incentive in order to produce in another way. It could also reward the non-market activity of farming. Yeah, farming is not just producing food commodities, it's about landscape management, it's about the sustainable management of food resources. It's about education as well, the transmission of peasant knowledge. So there are a lot of side activities that have to be remunerated, and there aren't actually. And this is 5 minutes. Okay. So yeah, it could actually support the transition toward agroecology, and it could also help the new generation of farmers to go on farming. That would make actually the farming activity more attractive, maybe for young people who actually are emerging in Europe and worldwide. There is this so-called new peasantry, So that could be a tool in order to support them in beginning a farming activity. So what are the interests for us as a basic income movement? We think actually that the food issue is a good entry door for basic income movements in order to address a variety of challenges in society. So food is including environmental issues, educational issues, public health. So we have about this huge problem in Europe of obesity and overweight, which will be more and more undermining the health system, and about employment. So actually that could be a good tool in order to create a broad encompassing food policy. So we have a huge opportunity to promote basic income within this debate and enter this debate actually of the future of food. And I will read it. So actually the European democracy can be re-energized by giving people a say in the things they most care about. We can start with what they put on our plates. So that was a citation of Olivier de Schutter. So yeah, it could be actually, the food issue is actually a great democratic debate. It concerns all of us, not only the producers, but also the consumers, the municipality, the public sector. So there is a huge issue that is like the cornerstone for the 21st century. But maybe some quotes, complementary or like caution that we have to keep in mind. The agrarian basic income shouldn't be actually the tool that legitimates a greater liberalization of food markets, because it has negative effect on smallholder farmers who are not competitive enough in front of this big-scale industrial farming. And we should also work together with peasant movement, for example, in order to know how to also provide better access for smallholder to land resources, to markets, or to some other productive capital that are necessary for the farming. And we also need policies on the local level or regional level to support local food production, including not only rural areas but also urban and peri-urban. And it is also useful to create to build bottom-up policy making and include actually the whole citizens, because this is an issue that matters to all of us. So the conclusion, the agrarian basic income could be actually this this tool that is moving towards a real recognition of the farming, not only as the food community producer, but also for all what we say about environment, education, and so on, and health. It could also support the idea that food is not a mere commodity, it's a common good, and we are all responsible of the food system. And so that's why we need to promote a model that ensures the long-term well-being of the producer, the consumers, and the ecosystem. And basic income can be a tool that is included in this new policy that we need in this century. And maybe, in short, we have actually nowadays a subsidy system that is based on the ownership of land capital, land resources. And the basic income, the agrarian basic income, could create a shift towards a system that supports the human capital or the humans that are actually managing sustainably the natural resources. And so we have a good opportunity, like the political conditions are really favorable to this idea, because in 2020 there will be a new common agricultural policy, and this year the debate of renegotiation of the CAP policy is beginning, and we have a great opportunity as basic income movement to be included in that debate and to propose new solutions. There are some public consultation from the European Commission, so that's why I presented you this project, so you can appropriate it to you. And that's it.
My question is: did you ever talk to organizations of the farmers? And could you imagine that we start? I mean, we all agree that we want to have the unconditioned basic income for everybody, but would it make sense to you to start with the farmers mainly? And the remark is that for the first time, I'm thinking about basic income for quite a long time, but for the first time I think, no, not possible for people, for producers of the holy shit. They serve to us, no basic income. So if you want to encourage another small scale and so ever production, I feel for the first time quite irritated and say, no, we cannot give money to people who will continue to spoil the planet and our lives.
One more question.
I also have a question to your presentation, and that's about the smallholder farmers. So this is my field of study at all. So it might be naive, but you made it sound as if sort of we're all coming to a consensus that smallholders are a good thing and industrial farming is a bad thing. But that again, just not being my area at all, just from an outsider's perspective, doesn't really seem to be the case at all. I mean, you have Gates Foundation kind of supporting the industrialization of farming in East Africa. You have like Jeffrey Sachs now again talking about the Green Revolution, as though like no one has ever even mentioned this before. And it doesn't seem, again, from this kind of outside perspective, that there's consensus around this, and also kind of added to that, what is, again, a naive question, what sort of is the actual outline of the argument for smallholder production? Because usually we encounter is, well, industrialized farming is just more efficient, you can automate a lot of the way, we need economies of scale, and like, yes, it's bad for the environment, but we can fix those bits, but still leave the big scale.
Okay, I'm also troubled by the unconditionality of it. Should it be conditional to agroecological systems of production?
So maybe I shall start with the first question. I will try to not forget. So yeah, we have been contacting peasant movements, and we are also in the mood for it. We've been contacting the European coordination of La Via Campesina. And actually, the woman who I talked to, she she was the coordinator of the movement, and she told me, and actually it's a known thing, that the main reclaim of peasant movement is actually fair prices, or prices of sale who are reflecting the prices of production. And actually it might seem contradictory to say, okay, we will ensure an income, and then we will not do anything about the price regulation. But I've been telling her that these two reivindications, ensuring an income and fighting for fair prices, they can be complementary actually. Because as I said, the basic income can enhance the bargaining powers, and that would maybe give the possibility for peasants and for farmers to be more present in the political debate and say, okay, this is our real need, and this is what we want as the future of agriculture, as the people who produce. So I think here we are, we have to build more relationship with this movement, because they are the ones who know exactly what might be good for them. They are the first concerned about this issue. Then you said like you would be against the fact of giving money for the farmers who have been doing productive and destructive production since a long time. But actually I think it might be about trying to put the blame on the farmers themselves actually, because there have been some public policies who incited them to invest, to get in debt, and actually they have been victim of this whole system. And I think that's maybe a bad idea to say, okay, you are the one who are creating pollutions. Actually, they are the one who are committing suicide and who are in a huge problem right now. So I think the unconditionality is an important thing to say. First, okay, we are not going to let you die because you are here, and I think as basic income advocates, we can say, okay, they also deserve dignity, and we are going to incite them to transition towards maybe sustainable systems. So that can be a tool that incite them more sustainability in their production practices. And on the other side, this unconditionality can also support the new generation of farmers that we need. So I think the unconditionality is a pretty important thing. If it's put together with transition helps and other complementary policies.
Yes, thank you. We have to now to start the questions. You may speak to each other later on. We'll pass on to Lynn Johnson and Peter Lang's presentation. Can basic income stop the illegal wildlife trade?
Dices que una mierda. Está contaminando. No, que tú cansada ya. Estarás hasta los huevos. Sí. Então, para quem é que foi, não falas assim com a minha avó? Para quem é que tu disseste? Não falas assim com a minha avó? Não tiveste saudades minhas? Então não te mostro a minha coisa nova. Mas é o mais giro.